It was 6:45 a.m. in the Blackwood residence. Thomas Blackwood, a calm, sharp businessman, reviewed one of the biggest proposals of his career, a 40 million square foot development deal with Singaporean investors. Caroline walked in, dressed simply in a gray polo and jeans. "Ready for the big day?" she asked with a smile. "As ready as I'll ever be," Thomas replied. Caroline mentioned she was visiting Wilshire Motors to finally replace her old sedan. Thomas wanted to go, but she insisted he focused on the meeting he had spent 3 years preparing for. "Go close your deal, Mr. Big Shot," she teased. They exchanged, "I love you," not knowing how important those words would become. Scene 2, the dealership incident. Caroline arrived at Wilshire Motors at 10:30 a.m. She walked around the luxury showroom, admiring a new German sedan. That's when he approached, Bradley Harrington, the sales manager. A man with an expensive watch, and a cheap attitude. "Can I help you find something in your price range?" he sneered. Caroline explained she wanted to test drive the sedan. Harrington laughed loudly. "This car starts at $85,000. You'd be more comfortable at the used lot down the street." He called over 2 salesmen. They surrounded her, like she didn't belong there. Customers stared, some even smirked, and as they pushed her toward the exit, Harrington leaned in and whispered, "We don't serve your kind here." Caroline left humiliated, and so shaken she forgot her phone behind. Scene 3, the phone call. Back at Thomas's meeting, things were going perfectly, until his phone rang from an unknown number. He stepped aside to answer. "Mr. Blackwood, this is Jenny from Wilshire Motors. Something happened, your wife was treated terribly." She explained everything, the insults, the mocking, the way they forced Caroline out. Thomas's blood boiled, but his voice stayed controlled. "Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Your honesty won't be forgotten." In that moment, Thomas made a silent vow. They hurt Caroline. They would pay. Scene 4, the plan. After completing the deal, Thomas launched into action. He ordered a full investigation into Wilshire Motors, surveillance on the dealership, research on Harrington, legal frameworks for acquiring the dealership, undercover actors to test their customer service. By nightfall, the plan was in motion. When Thomas got home, he finally found Caroline. Her eyes told him everything. "I've never felt so small," she whispered. Thomas held her hands. "Nothing about you is small." And tomorrow, they learn that. Scene 5, the next day. Thomas dressed in worn jeans, old boots, and a cheap sweatshirt, the perfect disguise. He walked into Wilshire Motors exactly as Caroline had. Within seconds, Harrington spotted him. "Let's not waste each other's time," Harrington said. "People like you can't afford this car." Thomas glanced at his watch. Right on schedule. Around them, actors Thomas hired, posing as genuine customers, began experiencing the same discrimination. It exposed a pattern of prejudice across the dealership. Then the doors opened. A local news reporter walked in with a camera crew. "Multiple complaints of discrimination were filed this morning," she announced. Harrington turned pale. "Who are you?" he demanded at Thomas. Thomas straightened. The timid act vanished. "Someone you should have treated with basic respect." At that moment, Caroline walked in quietly, standing tall. Thomas nodded to his head of security, who showed footage on a tablet, the moment Harrington pushed Caroline out. Thomas spoke clearly, letting every word sink in. "My name is Thomas Blackwood. And as of 9 a.m. this morning, my company owns your parent company." Silence. Harrington stammered, "You can't fire me." Thomas stepped forward. "I already did." Turning to the staff, he announced, "Jenny Martinez will be your new sales manager. Anyone who wishes to stay will undergo mandatory training. Anyone who refuses," he pointed to the door, "you may leave now." Scene 6, 1 week later. Thomas and Caroline sat on their terrace reading a newspaper. A small business headline read, "Blackwood Properties launches diversity initiative in automotive group." Caroline squeezed his hand. "You didn't just punish the bad ones. You helped the good ones." Indeed, Thomas had promoted Jenny, installed fair hiring procedures, created a scholarship fund, implemented strict anti-discrimination policies. Caroline finally smiled. "Oh, and I picked a car." Thomas laughed. "Did the owner give you a discount?" "The owner's wife," she corrected, "gets whatever she wants." As they sat together, Thomas reflected. In the end, wealth didn't matter. Power didn't matter. Respect mattered. Dignity mattered. And no one, no matter how they dress, deserves to be judged unfairly. Ending. If this story touched your heart, remember. Appearance doesn't define worth, kindness does. Have you ever experienced unfair judgment? Share your story in the comments. And let us know where you're watching from. Together, we can build a community that stands against prejudice.